Have you ever pondered the complexity of the human skull and how it serves as a fortress for the most vital organ, the brain? Today, we delve into the fascinating world of the human skull, a structure of extraordinary intricacy and strength. This bony framework does more than just provide a shape for our faces. It's a protective shield, safeguarding the brain, the command center of our body, from external shocks and injuries. Now, let's break it down a bit. The human skull is primarily divided into two parts, the cranium and the facial bones. The cranium, a dome-like structure, houses and protects the brain. Then we have the facial bones, which not only give our face its unique shape but also serve as the mount for our sensory organs. Indeed, the human skull is not just a structure. It's a marvel of nature's engineering. As we proceed, we'll uncover the intricate details of each part and their significance in our lives. The cranium, a dome-like structure, is the skull's sturdiest part, protecting our precious brain. Now, let's dive into the intricate and fascinating world of the cranium, a fortress composed of 8 distinct bones. First, we have the frontal bone resting at the front, forming the forehead and the upper part of the eye sockets. This bone is not just about aesthetics, it also serves as a shield for the frontal lobes of the brain. Next, the pair of parietal bones, sitting at the top and sides of the skull. These two bones, like twin guards, protect the parietal lobes of the brain, which are responsible for processing sensory information. Now, let's move on to the temporal bones, another pair that resides at the lower sides of the skull, near your ears. They not only safeguard the temporal lobes, which handle hearing and memory, but also house the intricate inner ear structures. At the back of the skull, we find the occipital bone. This long bone protects the occipital lobe, the brain's visual processing center. It's also where the skull connects to the spinal column, a crucial junction in the body. Next up is the sphenoid bone, a unique butterfly-shaped bone located at the base of the skull. This bone has the critical job of protecting the pituitary gland, often referred to as the master gland due to its control over other glands in the body. Last, but certainly not least, we have the ethmoid bone. This delicate and deeply situated bone aids in the protection of the brain and also forms the roof of the nasal cavity and the walls of the eye sockets. Each of these bones, though different in shape and location, work in perfect harmony to protect the brain from impact and injury. They form a rigid yet flexible structure that allows for movement and growth, all while providing the necessary protection for one of our most vital organs. Each bone in the cranium plays a crucial role in safeguarding the brain, showcasing the meticulous design of the human body. Moving forward, the facial bones provide structure, shape, and individuality to our faces. Imagine a world where everyone has the same face. Sounds boring, doesn't it? Well, thanks to our facial bones, we all have unique facial structures that make us who we are. There are 14 bones that construct our facial structure. Let's dive into each one to understand their roles. Starting with the mandible, it's the only movable bone in our face. It holds our lower teeth in place and plays a key role in actions like speaking and chewing. Next up, we have the maxilla. These two bones hold our upper teeth and form the upper jaw and the lower part of our orbits, which house our eyes. They also create the roof of our mouth and the floor of our nasal cavity. The palatine bones, also a pair, form the rear part of the nasal cavity and the floor of the orbits. They play a part in our sense of taste as they contribute to the roof of the mouth. The zygomatic bones, another pair, are the cheekbones that give our face its width and house the muscles we use to smile or frown. Nasal bones, yet another duo, form the bridge of our nose and contribute to our unique nasal shape. The lacrimal bones, the smallest bones in our face, sit at the inner corners of our eyes and house a part of the tear ducts. The vomer is a single bone that forms the lower part of the nasal septum, dividing the nasal cavity into two. Finally, the inferior nasal conchae, another pair of bones, are responsible for directing airflow in the nasal passages, thus playing a significant role in our respiratory system. Each of these bones plays a unique role, whether it's in speech, facial expression, or food intake. They work together to provide us with the ability to express ourselves and interact with the world in our own unique way. Our facial bones, while providing identity, also perform essential functions that we often take for granted. The skull is not just about protection and identity. It also houses several crucial cavities. Let's delve into the marvelous architecture of the skull. What many might not know is that the skull is home to the oral cavity, a gateway to our digestive system, and the nasal cavity, a critical component of our respiratory system. These cavities are more than just passageways for food and air. They are intricate systems that filter, warm, and moisten the air we breathe and initiate the process of digestion. Now, let's shift our focus to the orbits, the bony sockets that cradle our eyes. They don't just serve as a protective shell for the eyes, but also house muscles that control eye movement, nerves that enable vision, and vessels that provide nourishment. So you see, the skull is not just a bone structure. It's a complex, multifunctional unit. The human skull is indeed a marvel of nature that serves multiple crucial roles. In this brief journey, we've unraveled the complex world of the human skull. Our expedition started by understanding the skull's pivotal role as the helmet of the brain, safeguarding the mastermind of our body. We've seen how it's not just a protective shell, but also a cradle for our unique identities, shaping our faces and making us who we are. We then dived into the cranium, exploring the major bones that form this strong vault. Each bone, from the frontal to the occipital, plays a critical part in ensuring our brain's safety. Our journey continued to the facial bones, which contribute to our individuality and enable vital functions like eating, speaking, and expressing emotions. We also marveled at the cavities within the skull, each housing crucial components like our eyes, nose, and mouth. These cavities are intricate structures that perform a myriad of functions, proving that the skull is indeed a marvel of nature. So, the next time you look in the mirror, remember this intricate structure that defines you and protects your brain, the human skull.